But let's not overlook Carolyn Litt's significant role in this controversy. While she never explicitly demanded Joy Bihar's removal, her sharp reaction, paired with the immediate conservative media whirlwind, unquestionably intensified the situation. The pressure wasn't just public. It came from influential figures, conservative politicians, and even advertisers who reportedly began to reassess their relationship with The View. ABC suddenly found itself cornered, navigating a storm of political and financial risk. Then came the pivotal moment. Executives had to make a high-stakes decision: support Bihar and risk continued backlash, or sever ties to preserve the brand's integrity. The verdict was quick. Joy Bihar was out. Yet, here's the twist. Reports suggest Bihar never anticipated this outcome. Insiders claim she assumed that ABC would stand by her, just as they had in previous controversies. Instead, she was discreetly shown the door, leaving both fans and critics in shock. So, did Carolyn Litt single-handedly bring down one of daytime TV's most fiery voices? Maybe not directly, but there's no denying that her strong response was a catalyst in accelerating Bihar's exit. Now, a new challenge emerges. What's next for The View? With Bihar gone, the show stands at a crossroads. Can it maintain its bold, unfiltered edge without one of its most controversial and dynamic voices? Or is it on the verge of a transformation, one that could either revitalize or alienate its core audience? ABC must tread carefully in selecting a replacement. Love her or loathe her, Bihar's outspoken presence was a magnet for viewers. Now, with speculation swirling, potential names like Ana Navarro and former press secretary Jen Psaki are already being discussed. But will ABC lean towards another fearless voice or opt for a more cautious, balanced approach to avoid future PR nightmares? Meanwhile, Joy Bihar has remained unusually quiet since her departure, but those close to her suggest she's far from finished. Could she transition to a different network, possibly one with fewer restrictions? There's even buzz about a potential independent podcast where Bihar could speak freely. No filters, no censorship. Given her outspoken nature, one thing is clear. Joy Bihar won't just fade into the background. On the other hand, Carolyn Litt is riding the wave of newfound attention. This controversy has not only put her in the national spotlight, but also solidified her reputation as a rising force within conservative media. Will this be the launchpad for a more prominent role? Perhaps a regular TV spot, or even a leap into politics? Only time will tell if this moment was just the beginning of a larger journey for Litt. And now, another unexpected twist has entered the scene. Former President Donald Trump has confirmed that he will be taking his first international trip of his second term next month. This announcement comes amid ongoing debates and tensions surrounding his return to the political stage. Speculation abounds as to the purpose of the trip. Could it be diplomatic, strategic, or merely symbolic? Regardless, the news has already sparked both anticipation and controversy. The combination of Bihar's departure, Litt's rise, and Trump's impending international move leaves audiences wondering about the future of political discourse on television. Has the media landscape changed irreversibly, or is this just another chapter in the ongoing battle between outspoken voices and corporate caution? What do you think? Was Joy Bihar unfairly pushed out? Or did ABC make the right call? And how will Trump's next move play into the ever-evolving political narrative? Share your thoughts below, because this conversation is just heating up.
I call it a lot of different names, but it's really, in a sense, it's a rebirth of a country, because how we could have afforded to do what we did. We help everybody, and they don't help us. I really, the term I like best probably is the liberation of America. It's the liberation of this country.
Retired Navy Admiral Mark Guy, a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, recently shared his insights on President Trump's planned visit to key Middle Eastern countries. This trip is drawing considerable attention and comparisons to President Biden's meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, particularly after the controversial fist bump that sparked political backlash. Admiral Guy pointed out that Trump's decision to visit these countries underscores the strategic significance he places on their roles in countering Iranian influence. and securing energy interests in the region. During his first administration, Trump's international outreach also began in Saudi Arabia, emphasizing his consistent approach towards strengthening alliances to deter Iran's aggressive posture. The timing of this trip is particularly crucial as rhetoric between the United States and Iran has escalated. Trump recently warned that failure to reach a nuclear agreement could result in bombings in Iran, prompting a stern response from Iran's supreme leader, who vowed a powerful counterattack. Admiral Guy warned that the likelihood of military conflict is significant, driven not only by Iran's nuclear ambitions, but also by its continued support for proxy militias across the Middle East, including the Houthis in Yemen. These Iran-backed groups have been linked to attacks on shipping and naval vessels in the Red Sea. The admiral suggested that to effectively stop such threats, the U.S. may eventually have to target Iran's ports and missile production sites directly, rather than merely responding to proxy aggression. Amidst this rising tension, Trump's firm warning to the Houthis signals a strategic pivot from defensive to offensive measures, indicating that the U.S. is prepared to escalate its military response if provocations continue. The president's statement made it clear that ongoing attacks on U.S. ships would be met with severe consequences, not only for the Houthis but also for their primary backer, Iran. This more aggressive stance reflects a broader shift in U.S. foreign policy, prioritizing deterrence through direct accountability. Simultaneously, the conflict in Ukraine continues to be a focal point of international concern. Recently, Trump expressed frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, hinting at implementing secondary sanctions if Russia does not commit to peace talks. The admiral acknowledged that Putin's decision to mobilize 160,000 Russian civilians for potential military action indicates that Russia remains committed to prolonging the conflict. Despite Trump's pressure tactics, Putin's moves suggest that Russia is preparing for an intensified spring offensive rather than seeking diplomatic solutions. To counter Russia's resilience, Trump proposed a strategy of secondary sanctions, particularly targeting countries like China and India that continue to purchase Russian oil and natural gas. These sanctions would aim to reduce Russia's revenue from fossil fuel sales, thereby weakening its war effort. Admiral Guy argued that this approach could compel Putin to the negotiating table, while also limiting Russia's financial capacity to sustain military operations. However, the situation becomes more complex with reports of a potential U.S.-Russia rare earth minerals deal. Admiral Guy cautioned that such an agreement could undermine the pressure campaign, as partnering with Russia on critical resources might send mixed signals. He advocated for strengthening alliances with Ukraine instead, given the country's willingness to cooperate on mineral exploration and its strategic importance as a counterweight to Russian expansionism. As the global landscape shifts, balancing Middle Eastern diplomacy and European security has become increasingly challenging for the U.S. The admiral emphasized that prioritizing strategic partnerships, particularly with Ukraine, would better serve American interests than engaging in resource deals with Russia, which could compromise geopolitical leverage. Moving forward, the U.S. must navigate these complex dynamics carefully to maintain its influence while managing conflicts on multiple fronts. In the midst of these international developments, the focus remains on how President Trump will execute his strategic vision during the upcoming Middle East trip. Will his direct engagement with regional leaders successfully reinforce alliances and deter Iran's ambitions? Or will the visit spark further controversy, akin to the political fallout that followed Biden's Saudi encounter? At the same time, the looming challenge of managing Russian aggression in Ukraine continues to test U.S. foreign policy. Balancing these simultaneous crises will require a nuanced and decisive approach, leveraging both diplomatic channels and strategic pressure to uphold national security interests. As the geopolitical stage continues to evolve, the United States finds itself at a critical